that split 3-3? To seeing him grill the state last week?
Yes, sir.
And seemed so dissatisfied with their explanation as to why in a state where up to 800,000 currently registered voters don't have IDs. A state whose Department of Transportation will tell you that in the 10 weeks that the state has given DOT to implement this law, they had only expected to produce about 10,000 new IDs. And their maximum capacity in that 2-month period is about 90,000.
Yeah.
And either way, that would leave hundreds of thousands of people.
That's right.
Why there's such a rush to implement this law before November? When Georgia took 2 years to put a law like this in place.
Listen.
I'm cautiously optimistic that we will see justice done in Pennsylvania.
Yes, sir. I believe it.
But to be honest, whether it's marriage equality on the ballot in Maryland, or to be more exact, the attempt to encode discrimination into law in Maryland that would forbid marriage equality forever, or whether it is the DREAM Act in that state, or whether it's fighting in Missouri,
my Lord,
to end payday lending.
Right.
Where in that state, which has the highest lending rates in the country, I mean, it's not lending, it's usury rates.
Right. That's what it is.
Biblical term. They can charge you $75 per $100 borrowed per 2 weeks that you borrow.
Wow.
Do the math.
Jesus Christ.
Or whether it's Proposition 34 here in California.
Yes.
The opportunity to replace the death penalty here in California with life without the possibility of parole. I'm losing my voice. I've preached at 2 other churches today.
Yeah, we know.
And I'm like your bishop. I don't do that every Sunday.
Yeah.
So, there is a lot more at stake in November than just this race for office, or that politician's career. There are issues when you talk about usury in Missouri and the opportunity to get rid of loans that can run to 1,500% interest per year.
Wow.
I mean, that makes, pardon the phrase, but it makes loan sharks look like chumps because they only charge about 500%.
Right.
Or whether it's the death penalty here, there are issues that are biblical.
Yeah.
On the ballot. You know, there's a lot of folks who will come into a church and talk about a lot of social issues and act like Jesus is right there with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And they'll ask you with conviction, are you saved, brother? Are you a Christian?
well,
And I'm always quick to say, brother, I'm saved, but you know, I'm a particular kind of Christian. I'm a red letter Christian.
Right, I hear you.
So you're telling me about that issue, and you're telling me Jesus is on your side, but tell me what he said about it. Come on, let's just flip it out. Come on, let's go. Through Matthew, through Mark, through Luke, oh, he didn't say anything about it, did he? That's right. Because we're at the end of John.
Yeah.
And there's nothing about that issue.
Nothing at all. And red
I
letter.
mean, you want to talk about Leviticus, but I don't think Jesus wrote Leviticus.
I hear you. That's right, he did not write it.
And yet those same people, some of whom spend every day talking about the doctrine of life, when it gets to the death penalty,
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you let me preach a little bit, I want to talk about Luke for a second, chapter 4, verse 18.
Yeah.
The Spirit of the Lord is upon me.
Talk about it, preacher.
Because he has anointed me to preach the
Talk
gospel,
about
that's
it.
the good news, to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised.
Yes.
In there is this phrase, to preach deliverance to the captives, and that is important. Because at the time that Jesus lived, the rich, when they found themselves captive and accused and convicted, could purchase the right to be sent into exile. I'll tell you what, I'll just give you some money, you can let me go, I'll move somewhere else.
Right?
And the poor would be executed.
Right.
My Lord.
Tell it, tell it.
Not that much has changed in 2,000 years. On that score, has it? And then you go to Matthew, and Jesus says, chapter 26, verse 52, put your sword back in its place. For all who draw the sword will die by the sword.
That's it.
Come on with it. Come
Hear
on.
it.
Preach it.
Come on, baby.
In John chapter 8, verse 7, and when they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, if any of you is without sin, let him be the first to throw
I hear
a
you.
stone at her.
Say that again.
If any of you is without sin, let him be the first to throw the stone at her. And guess how many were able to throw a stone?
Not a person. Not a one. Still can't do it.
Right.
And Psalm 94 tells us, leave vengeance unto the Lord.
Yeah.
Yo, when we get that ballot in the mail, I grew up in California, and I lived in the Bay Area until I took this job. Here in California, man, they send you that sample ballot, and it can be a Bible itself.
Right?
And it's sort of easy to just kind of be like, well, I got a couple of friends, a couple of people I care about, and just forget about the rest of it.
Don't do it.
But we need you to really go down
Know what
to
you're doing.
Prop 34, read it and understand its importance. Understand how when you look at those red words in the Bible, Jesus is actually talking to you about your responsibility, about his hope. As St. Augustine would say, we are not just called to seek the city of God in heaven.
Right.
We are called to build it here on earth.
Right here. Welfare of the city.
And it would be a shame if all we could achieve this year as a great civil and human rights movement rooted in the liberation-minded churches of this country. It would be a shame if all we could succeed in doing this year is holding the line on voting rights.
Right.
Because our children expect more from us.
Right.
Our children expect us not to leave this world the same as we found it, but better.
Right, sir.
So they don't have as much work to do as we did, but hopefully less when it comes to dealing with injustice and evil amongst us.